Hello everyone. So, you want to become an industry expert in ARKNIGHTS? You're in the right place. I have spent a lot of time in the beta, and Enfield is the kind of game where there is always something to optimize, whether that's your operators, your factory, your routes, or your resources. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to know for a strong early game progression, from leveling to combat to factory management and gacha planning. Let's get started. Before anything else, your early game progression in ARKNIGHTS starts with experience. Your account level directly controls how quickly you unlock systems, how far you can push the story, and how strong your operators can become. So, if you're wondering how to level up fast, the short answer is simple: dailies, main quests, and exploration. That said, not all XP sources are equal, so it's important to prioritize the right ones. Next up are the crates, which you will mainly find while exploring or completing objectives. White crates give you 30 XP, blue crates give you 50 XP, yellow crates give you 80 XP, and sealed yellow crates give a massive 160 XP. These add up quickly, especially if you're actively exploring instead of rushing for objectives. On top of that, exploration actions also give you steady XP. General actions give you 20 to 40 XP, and small random pickups give you 10 XP. Individually, these seem minor, but over time they contribute a lot to your overall level. And here's the most important thing to understand: always level your operator rank before pushing the story. Story progression is heavily level gated all the way up to level 45. If you rush story content without keeping your level ahead, you'll eventually hit a hard wall where it's really hard to progress after. By focusing on XP early and staying ahead of the curve, you make story progression smoother, unlock systems faster, and avoid unnecessary backtracking later. A quick side note, I recommend hoarding stamina early on. There's no overflow, so spend when you need it, but since you'll be leveling up quickly at the start, it's best to save stamina for higher level farming later. It would take about 2 to 3 days to fully recharge, and your authority level increases the stamina cap, so use it wisely and stockpile whenever possible. Once your XP is under control, the next step is learning how to actually use your operators, because raw levels alone won't carry you through tougher content. Once you got your levels under control, the next thing you want to understand is how operators actually work in combat, because levels alone won't carry you very far in Enfield. Every operator is defined by two core things: their class and their damage type. Together, these determine what role they will play on your team and how they interact with enemies. If you want a simple rule for early team building, don't overcomplicate it. DPS, who deal majority of the damage, and support, who enable DPS through buffs, healing, control, or setup. Almost every strong early game team revolves around this pairing. With the roles out of the way, let's move on to damage types, because this is where Enfield's combat system really starts to shine. There are 5 elemental types in ARKNIGHTS. You've got physical, heat, electric, cryo, and nature. Each damage type behaves differently, but the best place to start as a new player is physical damage, because it's the most flexible and forgiving. That's also because Enfield does not use a traditional reaction-based system like other games. Instead, combat here is combo and stat-based, so the correct way to think about it is combo chains and not reactions. There are 4 status types for physical. You've got lift, knockdown, crush, and breach. All 4 of these interact with the vulnerable gauge, which is the meter you see filling up on the enemies as you attack them. Here's the important part: lift and knockdown build vulnerable stacks, crush and breach consumes those stacks and deal increased damage. Enemies can hold up to 4 vulnerable stacks at once. This means physical combat is all about timing. You want to build stacks efficiently, then spend them at the right moment for maximum damage. And when vulnerable stacks are consumed correctly, they lead directly into the most important combo action in the game: finishers. So physical teams reward players who understand sequencing and not button mashing. Elemental damage, however, works on a different system. Elemental damage uses art inflictions instead of vulnerable stacks. These inflictions can trigger 2 types of effects: art burst, which happen when you apply 2 stacks of the same element, dealing burst damage. Art reactions, which happen when you apply 2 different elements, creating special effects. The order of how these reactions matter a lot. For example, cryo followed by heat causes combustion. Heat followed by cryo causes solidification. This is important because Enfield is not designed around mono-element teams. Instead, the game strongly encourages elemental synergy and deliberate sequencing between operators. All of this directly leads to another core mechanics that defines the combat flow: stagger. Every enemy in Enfield has a stagger meter. Stagger builds through skills, combo chains, ultimates, and art reactions. When an enemy is fully staggered, several things can happen at once. The enemy becomes immobilized, Your first basic attack near them turns into a finisher. Finishers deal heavy damage and restore skill points. Stagger can also interrupt enemy attacks entirely, which is a powerful defensive and offensive tool at the same time. Some weapons and gear can increase how fast you can build stagger, making it especially important in harder content. With the combat mechanics covered, let's look at how operators actually scale over time. Operators will have 4 core attributes: strength, agility, intellect, and will. Each operator will be built around one main attribute, which provides a large attack bonus, a secondary attribute which gives a smaller bonus. Operators can also level up to 99, and along the way you will unlock elite promotions at level 20, 40, 60, and 80. These promotions unlock talents and increase skill caps, making them major power spikes rather than minor upgrades. Each operator has 4 combat skills. You've got basic attack, battle skill, combo skill, and ultimate. Skills can be leveled up to rank 9. After that, mastery becomes available, and this is where you'll need to be careful. Mastery requires Mark of Perseverance, a very rare material early game. And because of that, the best early game approach is to pick a small core team and invest only into the most impactful skills, instead of spreading resources too thin. And now onto the gear system. One of the biggest differences between Arknights Enfields and most other gacha games is how the gears work. Gearing in Enfield is completely stamina free. There's no RNG, no random substats, no stamina-based farming. Instead, you produce gear directly through the factory using materials and stock builds. This means progression is based on planning, not luck, and that's a huge advantage once you understand the system. Gearing is locked behind player and operator level milestones. You've got the green tier at 2-star at level 28, a blue tier 3-star at level 36, a purple 4-star at level 50, and a gold tier 5-star at level 70. Each tier is a clear step up in power, but not all of them are worth their time early on. Gear sets activate their bonuses with 3 pieces equipped. The 4th slot is flexible, which means you can mix in a different piece to patch weaknesses or boost specific stats. This gives you room to adapt without needing a full 4-piece set, which is helpful early game. Here's the most efficient early game approach. Craft green gear when it unlocks, skip the blue gear entirely, and save resources and go straight to purple gear. Blue gear doesn't provide enough value for its cost, while purple gear is strong enough to carry you for a long time. Gold gear is the endgame gear you should try and set up a production line for as soon as you unlock the resources at the Wuling AIC. Some purple pieces are especially strong early on. You've got conductive insulation, which is excellent for DPS, conductive burst, which is great for healers and support, and then finally Wildlander, which is solid for physical DPS. These will give reliable stats and survivability without heavy investment. Gold gear is much more varied and powerful, and it's where true endgame optimization begins. And with gearing handled, the next layer of power comes from weapons. Each operator has a fixed weapon type. Weapons primarily come from 3 sources: the Arsenal Exchange, which is the main weapon system, exploration as rewards from content, and the weekly roguelike mode, algorithmic memories. This is important because it means weapons are not locked behind pure gacha RNG. You are expected to earn and upgrade them through the gameplay. Weapons have an attribute bonus that scales with the operator, a stat bonus such as attack or utility, a unique effect which only appears on 5-star and 6-star weapons. Those unique effects are what separate endgame weapons from early options, as they often change on how an operator plays. So early on, 4-star and 5-star weapons are completely usable, and they'll carry you early to mid-game content. But long term, they fall behind due to lower scaling and lack of unique effects. That's when higher rarity weapons start to matter. Now that weapons are clear, let's zoom out and talk about Factory, because this system controls everything. At first, the game will pretty much force you to start with Originium ore. That's normal. This is the entry point to the entire factory loop. But as you progress, your focus should slowly shift from just mining to actually producing higher value items. So the real question becomes, what should you be producing? Before we answer that, there's one quick concept that you need to understand because it affects everything: outposts. In simple terms, an outpost is wherever your AIC is placed. That's it. Wherever your AIC sits, that area becomes your outpost. And why does that matter? Because your factory production should always be planned around the needs of the specific location. Once you think about the production in terms of your outpost, everything starts to make a lot more sense and planning becomes way easier. Now the question will be, what should you produce by early stages of the game? Instead of guessing, it helps to think of production in tiers. Early game, your focus should be on Origio Crust, Amethyst Parts, and Buck Capsule C and B, the highest valued item. These are cheap, efficient, and constantly needed when expanding factories. As you move into mid-game, your priority shifts to SC and LC batteries, both green and blue. These are higher value items that support more advanced systems, such as generators used to power your AIC. They also sell for a high amount of stock bills, making them especially valuable. And in endgame, production is all about purple batteries and Buck Capsule A. These are expensive, slow to make, and extremely important for late game progression because these sell for a huge amount of stock bills that will heavily be tied to upgrading your factory's expansion. Now there's one item that deserves special attention: bombs. You should have at least 50 bombs, or preferably more. A lot of exploration content, especially in Valley 4, requires bombs to progress. If you don't have them, you'll constantly be forced to stop and backtrack. Later regions like Wuling will have their own exploration tools such as water balls, which are easier to manage, but early on, bombs are non-negotiable. As your factory grows, you'll also want to start stockpiling amethyst parts and origura crust. These are used to build and expand more factory items. The buffer saves you from constant production interruptions when you want to expand. Now let's talk about efficiency, because this is where a lot of players accidentally sabotage their own factory. The key rule is simple: match input exactly to demand. If a machine needs 1 unit of item, you only connect 1 belt. Connecting 3 belts does nothing except waste resources and create bottlenecks. If a factory needs 2 units of item A and only 1 unit of item B, then just make sure that item A is supplied twice of the rate of item B. That's how you keep your production running smoothly. The same logic applies at higher numbers. If something needs 15 of one item and 10 of the other, producing 2 lines of the higher demand item will massively improve efficiency. More belts do not mean more output. Correct ratios do, for example 1 belt for 1 item. The factory system rewards players who think ahead and plan properly. If you get the math right early, everything else in the game becomes a lot easier. I'll be making a dedicated factory-only guide later, because this system deserves its own deep dive. Now that we've covered the backbone of the game, let's move on to stock bills. Unlock the stock redistribution market terminal. This will be a core part of your factory because what you make is what you will sell for stocks and bills, and use those stocks and bills to upgrade your factory for that region, aka Valley 4 and Wuling. In this terminal, there is also a stock market where you buy stock items for a very low price and sell them for a high price, aka easy money from your friends. And a side note, each region will have its own stocks. For example, Valley 4 stock bill and Wuling stock bill. There will also be stock depot all over the map, which is also very important because this is where you earn a high amount of stock bills every day by doing deliveries. Yes, just like Amazon, you will pick up the package and deliver it and get to a high level of stock bills like 250k or even 450k. This same depot will be part of Wuling too, with the same system. And here's some tips about it. Always transfer your highest amount of jobs or jobs you cannot deliver, because when you do, that you and the same person who completes the job will both earn the same pack amount. It is a very good system and makes co-op experience feel a lot more like you're helping each other. Always produce 2 items to sell on depot, origura crust and amethyst parts, which are cheap and easy to obtain. Complete other people's jobs to earn higher stock bills depending on the job listing. And now, before we wrap things up, let's quickly go over to the gacha system, because understanding it is how it works and can save you a lot of resources. If you're just starting out, the first banner you'll interact with is the beginner banner, New Horizons. This banner guarantees a 6-star operator within 40 pulls, which is extremely generous for new players. And on top of that, once you finish it, you'll also get a selectable 6-star weapon, giving you a strong foundation right at the start. After that comes the basic banner, which is always available. It has an 80 pull guarantee for a 6-star, and if you stick around long enough, you can select a 6-star operator within 300 pulls. It's slow, but very consistent, making it a safe, long-term option. The banners the most players will care about though is the featured banner. Here, you're guaranteed a 6-star within 80 pulls, but it's still a 50-50 chance whether you get the featured operator. If you lose that 50-50, Hard Pity at 120 pulls guarantees the featured character. While this Hard Pity doesn't carry over, featured operators remain in the pool for 2 additional banners, which helps to reduce the pressure to pull immediately. Now here's an important tip specifically for free-to-play and cost-conscious players. Because of how the pity system is structured, single pulls are way safer than 10 pulls. If you do a 10 pull and hit the featured character early, you can end up wasting 9 pulls that would have otherwise progressed to the 120 Hard Pity. By pulling one at a time, you make sure every pull is contributing as efficiently as possible. It's a small adjustment, but over time it can make a real difference in how far your resources go. A side note, for 30 pulls you get 10 pulls. This also does not count towards the guarantees. Weapon Gacha works a little differently, and this is where players need to be especially careful. The Weapon Gacha uses arsenal tickets, which you mainly earn by pulling for characters through weekly missions and modes. Each 10 pull guarantees a 5-star weapon with a chance to obtain either a rate up or a non-rate up option. You're guaranteed a 6-star weapon every 4 pulls. If you miss earlier, a featured weapon is guaranteed by the 8th pull. If you prefer not to rely purely on luck, weapons can also be purchased directly from a rotating shop. This provides a more controlled way to gear your operators, though it is primarily aimed at spenders. And on a side note, Weapon Banner also has a milestone that gives you rewards. At 100 pulls, you get an Arms Offering Crate, a non-rare weapon. At 180 pulls, you get a rate-up weapon. At 260 pulls, you get a Arms Offering Crate non-rare weapon. And at 340 pulls, you get a rate-up weapon. This is still subject to change before release, but based on playing the beta, players should treat signature weapons as long-term goals, not something to chase immediately. Pull carefully, plan ahead, and don't assume that every character needs their signature weapon to function. If you want a smooth start day 1, here's a simple plan. Start by pushing the main story until you unlock AIC automation, since this drastically improves your resource flow. The main reason to prioritize the story first is that it rewards you with early pulls, letting you roll on the beginner banner much sooner. Story progression is heavily level gated, all the way up to level 43. If you rush story content without keeping your level ahead, you'll eventually hit a hard wall where you can't progress at all. I recommend hoarding stamina early on. There's no overflow, so spend it when you need it, but since you level up quickly at the start, it's best to save the stamina for higher level farming later. It takes about 2 to 3 days to fully recharge, and your authority level increases stamina cap, so use it wisely and stockpile whenever possible. If you do this efficiently, hitting operator level 20 on day 1 is completely achievable and sets you up for faster progression afterward. And with the final takeaways, Arknights Enfield rewards players who think ahead. It's not about RNG alone, it's about planning your pulls, understanding combat systems, managing your factory and resources efficiently. Whether you rush or take things slowly, players who learn the systems early will always progress faster than those who rely on luck. And that's everything you need to know to get started strong in Arknights Enfield. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.